Hey everyone, I hope all of you are doing well and welcome back to Kayan Al-Bashar, where today I'm going to be building a ostrich and giraffe habitat, which is going to be inspired by 8001 Nights. So it's going to be a little bit of a magical build today, and with that being said, let's get into today's build. So I have no idea if the phrase "let's get into today's build" is the correct phrase to use as transition between the intro and the ramblings of a madman. But I also realized that I am not creative enough to come up with anything different, so I'm going to use that for now. But I have to talk to you guys about 3 things that are going on or that I just wanted to talk about. First one is channel related, so that's why it's the first one also. But you might have seen that there's basically a huge reshuffle going on with the channel. And that's all because I have a little bit of an issue going on, and before anyone asks if I'm dying or sick or anything, no, it's just that I don't know when to stop. So since I think a month or 2 months, I've just been constantly adding new things to the channel. So creation renovation got added, Valhalla and the occasional challenges got added, and then I realized I don't have enough time in a week to actually do all of those things, because all of my videos usually take 2 days to make, 1 day to build, 1 day to edit. And then if you do the maths, because Valhalla was going to be, hopefully when I started it, 1 day a week, and I never actually, well, I once got that, and after that I didn't. And then Kayan Al-Bashar was going to be 2 times a week, because even in all the chaos, I wanted to keep that one as the big central project going on the channel. And then creation renovation or sometimes a challenge would be 1 time a week. So that would mean that on a perfect week it would be 4 videos a week, which, given that every video usually takes 2 days, meant that I was 1 day short every week then, because it would take 8 days to actually make all of those videos. And then it would also be, well, a full week of just constantly building. So that wasn't going to be good for anyone's mental state, to be just constantly working. So then I had to, well, I basically sat down at the beginning of this week and think, alright, what things can I change? What things do I need to focus on? What things are sadly going to get to the axe? So after thinking about that and knowing, alright, Kayan Al-Bashar, I want to keep that the main focus of the channel. So that's of course going to take the forefront of like things that I want to keep. And then thinking about the other things, Valhalla I'm going to get into a little bit later because it was like the stream thing. But it sadly meant that creation renovation is going to be put on hold. It might occasionally return, but that's only if I have like extra time free, so I'm not going to really schedule it in anymore. And the challenges that I was still thinking of doing have sadly been cancelled, so it's going to be from now on 2 videos a week, all Kayan Al-Bashar, and then occasionally, if I really have free time for it, then I will build a creation renovation. And then going into actually Valhalla, because it was a streaming thing, well, I don't want to play Planet Zoo on the streams, because again, then I'm just constantly in Planet Zoo. So since then I have been playing Minecraft and really enjoying that. I might not be the best builder in it yet, but I'm really having fun with that. And it just gives me the time to basically get out of the Planet Zoo mindset. So yeah, that's basically why the whole reshuffle got done, because I was just building too much. I was just basically doing too much. I don't really have a gene that says don't do this, or at least this is too much. I just don't have that gene, I think. So yeah, from now on it's going to be 2 videos a week, all are going to be Kayan Al-Bashar, and maybe in like a few months, if I get better at Minecraft, there might be some videos on Minecraft occasionally, but again, I don't schedule those in, because yeah, I think it's better to do less videos a week and not have the chance to burn myself out than to do basically more videos a week than the week has days. Or at least have more videos a week than I could make in a week. So anyway, that's going to be it for the channel update. So again, quickly rounding it down. Kayan Al-Bashar, nothing is going to happen with that. Creation renovation, put on hold, so might occasionally return. And then Valhalla and the challenges have been cancelled, sadly. So it's going to be 2 videos a week. But now to get into the actual build for today, because otherwise I'm going to ramble too long about the updates on the channel, and I think most of you guys are probably here for today's build. So I already said that it's going to be inspired by 8001 Nights, and it is, because what we are building is... I'm going to butcher this name. I actually had to look it up, but I will always butcher it. But it's Scheherazade's tower, and if you don't know Scheherazade, he's basically the, well, I would say narrator or just the storyteller of 8001 Nights. And I actually looked into like her story, because she in a way is a story in her stories, because all of these stories I think are somewhat told from her points, because again, she's a fairy tale within a fairy tale, or her stories are a story in a story. Yeah, it's a little bit of a what the hell is happening thing, but I actually looked into her story, and let's just say I love it more than any of the classic fairy tales, because, well, let's just round down Scheherazade's story. But basically, and I'm not going to go into the chaos of like a story within a story now, but basically there was this sultan who got cheated upon by his wife. So of course, back in the day, then that wife got executed, which is what happened. And because he was so, I don't know if it was heartbroken or just furious, because of course there's some bit of an ego being dented there, he basically started to every morning, or at least every day, marry a different woman, and then the morning after he executed that woman, so that they had no chance to cheat on him. And this continued for a while, and then Scheherazade actually volunteered to become the next wife. And of course her father didn't really agree with that, because from what I know, this father was like a high-ranking noble, either a vizier or just a high-ranking noble. But he of course knew what was going on, so he didn't want his daughter to become entangled in that, because he knew that the chance of her dying was very high. But Scheherazade actually, well, volunteered, and then of course couldn't backpedal anymore, because by then, well, she was, I think, already introduced to the Sultan, and, well, you know how things go, then they get married. So Scheherazade was, from what I know, a very learned woman. I, for some reason, can't say women, it seems. Or at least, I want to say women, but then women is the multitude, and woman is singular, but don't try and question the squirrel brain, because that's a dangerous thing to do. But she was very learned, she knew a lot of stories, so the thing that happened was basically she started a story every night, but didn't finish it before dawn. So the Sultan by that point was so like entranced by the story that he kept her alive for another night. And then every night following that, she, well, ended the first story, or the story from the previous night, but also started the next story, but then didn't finish that next story before dawn. So he kept her alive for, I think 1001 Nights, because, I mean, that's the whole thing of that, but might be longer. But of course, by the end of that, he, well, fairy tale like fell in love with her and kept her alive, and, well, basically didn't kill her. So from that on, it was like her happily ever after. But I like that story a lot more, because first of all, Scheherazade is doing something. Unlike, let's say, Snow White or Cinderella, she isn't just waiting, she actually goes out herself. She goes out into a place that, or at least a situation that is very dangerous, because again, he executed every wife the morning after, and well, first of all, of course, pull it off, because otherwise it wouldn't be that much of a happy fairy tale or story. Can you actually call the 1001 Nights fairy tales? Because they sort of are, but then they're also more like just tales. But anyway, that's too much of getting into, but Scheherazade just does something. See, it doesn't just wait for like Prince Charming to come around. So I really like that aspect of the story. There's of course the gruesome background on why she does that, or why she needs to do that, but then let's just say in, I think, all tales, whether they're fairy tales or not, most of the time emotions are just pulled to 100, so always super dramatic and such. But again, like, Scheherazade actually does something herself. She actually has a little bit of a personality, and well, she knows all of these stories because she kept the Sultan entranced for 1001 nights, so she was of course a learned woman, because if you want to make stories compelling, you, well, need to know a little bit to set a proper background to keep people interested. I love that story, and growing up, well, in the Netherlands, I of course grew up with the basic fairy tales like Cinderella, Snow White and such. But after reading Scheherazade's story, I actually want to just learn a bit more about all the other stories. And I mean, I have 1001 stories, it seems, to go through, so I can enjoy myself trying to read up on all of those. Probably won't, because that's too much to ask, but yeah, I really just like her story a lot more than any other classic Disney princess. Because again, she actually does something and doesn't just wait on Prince Charming. She actually takes control of the situation. But anyway, besides that, so I already built Shahrazade's tower, and then now I'm building a simple gatehouse because I wanted the tower to basically be the area of the Sultana, which, yeah, that word, Sultana, because of, well, where I live, I think it's also a brand of cookies or crackers here, so whenever I say Sultana, I just think of cookies and crackers, so I never can really take that word serious, just because of, like, the environment that I grew up in, but, yeah, so just know that whenever I say Sultana, my mind doesn't want to think of, like, the female version or the consort of a sultan, but I just think of a cookie, which also makes me hungry, so just think about that. So that's just making this video even more difficult to make a commentary for. But I basically made Shahrazade's tower into the Sultana's area of the palace. So I wanted it to, first of all, be a very impressive tower, but then also be, well, let's just say I wanted to have it have a outside garden. So not a garden that's inside the palace or inside the castle walls, but also something that's outside. So of course it's going to be a little bit, or well, a little bit, it's going to be heavily inspired by the Alhambra. Actually, in the Alhambra, I looked it up, there is like a Sultana's garden, or at least a Sultana's thing in the Alhambra, but then it's not really for the Sultana, I think, or from what I read, it's basically named that way because of a story that went into there. But I did use it a little bit as a reference, but then I also completely went my own way after that. And then I built archers that, let's just say, after the horseshoe archers, these are the more annoying ones, because all the other archers I've been using this painted brick piece the different way. Here it's facing the actual, well, the sides are facing the ground, whereas otherwise it would have been, well, different. I don't know how to really explain it. But this is just so that I could get those like different colors into the arch, as you would see in some arches in real life, and actually in the Alhambra they also have these arches. Yeah, it's a little bit of a more, I wouldn't say it's a more difficult thing to make, but it's a little bit more time consuming to make these arches instead of the normal ones. This video took, of course, a lot longer to make because the build was a lot longer. But this again goes into like I want to focus on Kayan Al-Bashar a bit more. Having 2 videos a week, and I'm going back into that, but I will really want to make sure that you guys understand. But having 2 videos a week actually makes me able to have bigger builds, so that I don't feel any pressure to build, so I completely let my creativity run free. So yeah, that basically means I can build more, I can do a lot more, and I'm very happy with it, because after building, well, I think I called it the Sultana's Habitat, but it's basically just, well, the focus point is of course Scheherazade's tower, because you can't ignore that. It's actually, when you look at the palace right now, that's the first thing you notice. Like, Rapunzel's tower is actually taller than this tower, but you don't really notice it that much when you look at the actual palace, because Rapunzel's tower, even though it's taller, it's a lot more beige, and this tower, or Scheherazade's tower, it has a lot more color to it, so you notice it more obviously than Rapunzel's tower. So Rapunzel's a little bit, probably a little bit beefed because her spotlight was taken away. But I wanted to make sure that this habitat is, well, worthy of a sultana, or worthy of a queen, if you, well, need an explanation on what a sultana is in like a little bit of a more relatable naming or title. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure that it was worthy of, well, a sultana. And actually the giraffe was a little bit of a not an afterthought, because I actually spent a lot of time researching what animal to go in her, which would fit with Scheherazade's backstory. And then I for a long time thought about elephants, because elephants are, well, they are like very intelligent animals, but I didn't want elephants. They just looked a little bit too bulky to be in here. I also wanted the elephants to have basically free range in the, well, mystery phase of Kayan Al-Bashar. So I didn't want elephants here, so I actually did a research on like how intelligent are giraffes. There's not a lot out there because, well, elephants take the spotlight. Giraffes are actually also pretty intelligent. And then also they are, of course, well, they are somewhat said to be like intelligent loners. Well, not loners, but silently intelligent. Or, well, I had a word for it, but it escaped me. But they are intelligent, they just don't really show it that much, which makes the intelligence debatable, but they are said to be really intelligent. They really know how, you know, to survive and everything. They know, well, let's just say they know a lot of things. I can't really get out of my words right now, but they are said to be very intelligent, but they don't really show it that much. Because why would they, you know, need to show it to us puny humans? So that made me think like, alright, I want to now have giraffes in here because they are intelligent, but they aren't really as show-offy about it as elephants can be. Or at least, well, elephants are not show-offy, but they are just more recognized as the intelligent animal. But then giraffes are a little bit more of like the hidden intelligent person. So yeah, this rambling doesn't make any sense, but I just, fitting with Scheherazade's story, I just wanted an animal that was intelligent but is not really recognized as such. So I just see the giraffe more as like the one that basically at a party stands in the background and completely disagrees with any kind of discussion, has a lot of good points and knows completely how to basically destroy any discussion that he goes into, but he's just too humble to actually do anything about that, or at least he's maybe too intelligent that he doesn't care to actually get into it. Maybe something like that. So he's basically just judging everyone from the sideline. Yeah, I also made it so because I wanted to have a bit more magical presence to this habitat. Because Scheherazade knows these thousands of stories, I wanted to have a reference to that. And so there are a lot of like books and scrolls floating up to her, well, chambers or to her tower, where she learns all of these stories. And then I put the ostriches in there because they have this majestic kind of look to them. So it's kind of like majestic intelligence all throughout this habitat with floating books. But anyway, that's going to be it for today's video. It's a little bit of like a ramble at the end, but that's kind of expected by now from me, and I hope all of you have an amazing day. I hope to see you back in the next video. If you want to see more, of course, subscribing and liking this video is going to be a great way to do that. And then you might, if you want to, also ring that bell button, even though it doesn't really do much, but yeah, maybe we can hope that it does something. But anyway, that's going to be it. So again, hope you all have an amazing day, and bye bye.